It's time for Tim Seanor and the UFO Report.
Nobody's going to know.
They're going to know.
My friend Tim Seanor, thank you so much for joining us. And I appreciate everything that you do for us around here. It's been a marvelous weekend heading into this week, and we're kicking it off pretty darn good here. But some really weird news, albeit controversial, stirred up in the UFO world today. And you know what? I have booked the next 45 minutes of this show to talk about this. It upset me so bad today. And I'm going to let you tell the story first, and then we'll get into it. We'll really, really get into it.
Oh, you want me to kick it off? Well, thanks for that. Thanks for having me on, Dave, and thanks for lining me up. So, yeah, we can talk about it, but it sounds like some controversy perhaps between anonymous individuals and Jeremy McGowan stirred up a response through their post, through a post on UAPX's website. And so Jeremy announces in this that they do plan to, in fact, charge $600 for podcast fees from now on for most public appearances that they make through podcasting. Now, I can go through this post very briefly and give you a synopsis of his feelings and why the administration decided to do this. And I can tell it's going to be controversial, and I'm sure they were pretty aware of it when they put this out there. But Dave, do you want to take a first swipe at how this all kind of came to be, at least this post I'm about to read?
Absolutely. Jesse Peak, who is a MUFON investigator out of Pennsylvania, he has a little podcast that he does. And he posted on Twitter, and it came down on our Twitter feed at Spaced Out Radio. If you're not following us, make sure you are. That he wasn't giving up the name of the person. And he said, there is a UFO group out there that is wanting to charge $600 to do an interview with this podcast, for his podcast. And he was pretty upset about it. And I had started off saying, I've heard of this twice. I've had this happen twice. Number one was with Dr. Stephen Greer, who will never appear on this show after he asked me for money. He asked me to provide preloaded questions. He asked me our demographics, male versus female, and a bunch of other weird stuff. Okay, but when he asks for money and you ask for preloaded questions, that's not journalism. That's not an interview. I declined the interview. Rick Doty was another one who tried to hit me up for money, and I said no. Have fun doing all other shows that pay you, because you ain't getting a dime out of me. My friend, in my 20-plus year radio career, I have interviewed millionaires, I have interviewed billionaires, and I have never once had to dig out a quarter from my pocket to do an interview. It's not how the game works. So I brought that to the attention, and as I'm following this Twitter feed, the agent for UAPX starts piping off. And him and I get into it on Twitter. And he's trying to explain to me that in his 36 years of working in the media industry, there is all sorts of people who ask for money for interviews. And I went, no, they don't. Not in this field. We don't do it. So the agent's name is Alex Garcia. I'm going to tell you right now, the guy's a buffoon. An absolute buffoon. Personal opinion after my interactions with him today. And he starts going off about this. Oh, I'm going to read it to you. Trust me, I'm going to read it to you. I started off by saying, I've only run into this with Stephen Greer and Rick Doty, which I declined the interview, as anyone should. There should be a list of those who are trying to capitalize like this. So wrong. And then he ends up basically saying, or he started replying, he says, it may read insensitive, but yes, their time goes to the highest bidder, which at the moment is teaching and research. I can agree that it's not ideal for everyone, but it's the current situation. I said, you have zero clue how PR works. It's quite obvious with your answers. No one pays for interviews. He goes, I'm not PR. I'm their agent, Dave. I then replied, well, then you should really know better. You really should. And the war was on. I dropped the gloves with this guy. Okay. So he starts saying comments about the personality is then compensated via either a product or media company that they are promoting. It appears to be free to you, but that's rarely the case. I said, well, I could tell you when I interviewed Mark Cuban or Canucks owner Francesco Aquilini or other billionaires, my radio station didn't pay for them, nor did Skinwalker Ranch owner Brandon Fugel. So I would say you're not quite accurate on how the medium actually works. In another thread, he goes, difference is that it takes the shape of a media buy from a TV network or streamer in order to do this. You know this all too well. I said, no, in newsrooms or for talk show formats, there is no media buy that takes place for daily interviews. Once again, you're wrong. Sorry. You better continue to sit in your boardroom and let the people who know play the proper game here. Like, I just hammered this guy. All right, hammered him. I said, podcasts on the subject are a part of the citizen journalism that has helped mold the UFO world. Charging them for a speaking engagement will hurt your clients in the short and long run. No one does this because it's not a speaking engagement. He replied, I'm sorry you are not a citizen. I'm sorry, you're not a citizen journalist. You are a journalist. A citizen journalist is an elegant way of saying hobbyist. But look, I'm sure there's middle ground here. But no, there was no middle ground. So what did I do? I got a hold of Gary Voorhees. And I told Gary Voorhees, I said, who is this dude? I said, he is absolutely ruining UAPX on Twitter right now. And I went at him. Now, I don't usually do a lot of drama, okay? I usually do not, Tim, get into this stuff because it usually goes nowhere. Nowhere. But you know what? There is a case in point here that needs to be proven. And that is, I remember the days, Tim, where we had 10 to 15 listeners a night just to get off the ground with this show. 10 to 15 listeners a night. Now we have 7 radio stations. We have a bunch of podcast networks that play our show live. There's an archive that people listen to. People listen on YouTube and Twitch and other places where if you combine our entire audience per show, especially our live broadcast on the radio section, we equal out to about 177,000 listeners a night. Okay? Thank you to our radio stations who help us make up those fantastic numbers. But I remember the days of 15 listeners. And in 2 nights, it's going to be our 8th anniversary of this show. And this struck a chord with me, Tim, because there are a lot of podcasters, YouTubers out there who are trying their damnedest just to learn. And then you have scumbags like this agent who are trying to milk money for their group, because that's what agents do. They try and milk money from people in order to get them on. It's dirty pool when most of the people in this field, buddy, they have trouble paying their rent, let alone, you know what? If it's a hobby for them, who cares? If they're making $5 on Buy Me a Coffee, or they've got enough subscribers and viewer time to get a super chat on YouTube, who cares? But this is a karma thing, dude. This is completely a karma thing. I get hit up for interviews quite often. And you know what? I try to do them all. I try to do them all. Why? Because I was that person. I was that person 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, where my dream was to tell my story at a conference for people to get to know this show and why I'm doing it. And then you got these guys where, hey, UAPX, you're not even finished your own data collection. You've had almost a year, or a few months, almost a year, and you haven't even finished 10% of your data that you're supposed to release. Okay, and now you want to charge people $600 for an interview? But wait, there's more, Tim. Jeremy McGowan from UAPX decided to challenge me on the media front tonight, right before this show. So I did what any good journalist and radio show host would do. I borrowed a page out of Randy Macho Man Savage's book. I climbed up onto the top rope, and I dropped an elbow right on the solar plexus of this absolute stupidity. I did. Okay? So I'm going to read you what McGowan sent to me earlier today. He sent a reply that because what they did in response to this, after everything that I was doing, and a lot of people on Twitter were hammering them on this. Okay, but I was the most ruthless on their agent. They put a statement on their UAPX website that says there may be occasions where we waive the fee if we feel that the output, timing, reach, and reason align with our internal policies, needs, and desires for the company. But as far as UFO Twitter is concerned, we've done the rounds and we've been on nearly all of the main podcasts and dozens of smaller ones. We are consolidating and curating our output, providing a single point of information generated by UAPX via our website. We don't charge for you to read our blog or general forums, which does shows like ours zero good. There is no paywall, restrictions, or other blocks on your access to our data when it's released. And for those other podcasters, there isn't anything left for us to say until our papers are ready or other discoveries are made. When our data is analyzed, our peer review papers are submitted and published, or major discoveries, corrections, or identifications are made. You can find that information on our site with equal access to everyone, not just a single or a few different podcasts. This is how we ensure equal access and equity in access to the information by not siloing our output into specific areas, venues that not everyone has access to or knows about. So basically what they're saying is, we're so large, we're so grand that we're not going to do your show because it's too small. And if you really want us on your show, pay us. It's not how the media works. Okay? It's not how the media works. The media, whether it's citizen blogging, podcasting, citizen journalism, all you have to do is say, no, thank you. We're not interested at this time. Or, no, thank you. We're not taking any interview requests at this time. instead of embarrassing yourself, charging good people $600 for what? Dots in the sky? There is not a newscast out there that pays for information on stories. They don't. Maybe the smut tabloids do. Maybe they've been reading a little bit too much Inquirer, okay, or the World Weekly News or whatever it's called, okay? But if you want to play big time, do the interview. If you want to play with the big boys, do the interview. You're not better than everyone else. You're making yourself an embarrassment here. So when we come back from the break, we're going to continue on this topic because this is something that is actually starting to grow in ufology. And I got more to say about Jeremy McGowan and this whole UAPX farce. Can we call it a farce of wanting to charge podcasters $600 for an interview? Just so you know, for the record, Spaced Out Radio has never paid for an interview, ever. We continue on the show with the UFO Report, Tim Seanor, right after this. It's embarrassing for them. It really is, Tim. Hey, GFG, how's it going, buddy? Little Davey Altman, I saw you hiding. There you are. Hey, little Davey Altman. Who else has showed up here? Let's see here. Yeah, we have never paid for an interview. I had one other person. I'm not going to say who it is because him and I are friends. He's like, I'm charging between $50 and $150 for an interview now because I'm trying to raise money for my whatchamacallit. So, bud, you'll never get a dime out of me. And he goes, well, then I won't be on your show. I said, that's fine. So you don't have to. I said, but it takes away the journalistic integrity if I'm paying you for an interview. Hi, Judy of Gall. Oh, yeah, I'm not done yet with Jeremy McGowan. Not done yet. So, once again, this agent who thinks he knows it all. Oh, this was real good. Got real good. It was like he was playing into my hands that every time he said something, I had an answer for it. Right? It was just one of those beautiful things that just happened. You try here's one here. Oh, come on. Oh, there it is. Here's one here. I know how promotional radio podcasts and shows work, Dave. Difference is the team is not promoting anything. These are sideshow requests. I said, you, sir, are completely out to lunch with media and media requests. I talked to millionaires and billionaires throughout my career who've never asked for a dime for an interview. This isn't a speaking engagement. This is an interview, whether it's a big show or not. He goes, in your world, this is what you believe to be true. I ran a multi-million-dollar content strategy for a public company, 36 radio stations and 34 TV stations. I said, in my world, I have over 20 years of media and journalism experience working in radio. I think I know how the system works all too well. And you, sir, are way off base and out of touch with your financial requests for podcast interviews. He goes, I ran a team of 300 radio employees across the country, including journalists and jocks. I know your world all too well at a board level. And there are speaking fees or stipends paid all the time. Difference is that it takes shape of a media buy. And that's where I said, what I did about Mark Cuban and other billionaires. He goes, there's no comparison here. I said, no comparison. I said, UAPX is a UFO group that people want to talk to in an interview format. This isn't a speaking engagement. You want to charge for an engagement? Go for it. I do. But interviews? Dude, you're making yourself and your business look foolish here. Know your game. He goes, the game is this. If you're an infotainment outlet, UAPX will not appear on your show for free. If you're a serious journalist that has a real editorial study to tell and real interview to conduct, pitch. I said podcasts on the subject are a part of the citizen journalism that has helped mold the UFO world. Charging them for a speaking engagement will hurt your clients in the short and long run. No one does this because it's not a speaking engagement. So we were at it. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I loved it. Loved every moment of it. These people are going to come in here and try and dictate to us how it works. I would like to ask Dr. Stephen Greer one day, how much did you charge Demi Lovato to take your course? She's worth about 50, 60 million. How much did you charge her? Or was that one on the sly so you could get some followers on social media instead of the 2,500 or 3,500 that you charge for people to take your CE5 course? I'd like to ask him that. How much did Demi pay? Right? It's the same thing. Hey, I asked Brandon Fugel point blank, you allowed Post Malone on there. He knows nothing about this field. Why can't I come? I asked him that privately. I have got a vested interest in this outside of a keen hobby. I would like to know. Right? But I will guarantee you Lovato didn't pay. Here we go. We're rounding third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Tim Seanor is here for the UFO Report, even though I'm doing most of the talking here, regarding a controversial statement made earlier today that the UFO group UAPX is now wanting to charge people $600 for a podcast interview or radio interview if they deem you not to be of journalistic integrity. Tim, what's your thoughts on this so far?
Yeah, Dave. So tonight I'm going to shock your audience by agreeing with you. It's not hard to kind of not see the benefits of charging for data and access to talking about that data. That's not a great move. But I'm still a big supporter of the idea behind UAPX. I love independent researchers. The work of Jerry McGowan, I still feel was pivotal in some big moves and some great stuff that we've seen. So I don't want to undermine the fantastic work that they're doing. But I do know that the company is pretty open about struggling financially. And so this is just one, maybe a short-sighted option that they've taken, but one option that they are considering here to try and bring in other sources to support their work. And I know that the whole team at one point was trying to fund just to keep Jeremy going and things like that. And, it is an expensive endeavor. They are self-funded. Um, and so, it is tough to see them have to survive this way. Perhaps they could have done something a little different, presented it a little differently, because I think there isn't one of us out there that isn't in full support of the concept behind what they are doing. Whether you support this team in particular or another one like it, or perhaps you don't at all, but either way, you understand what I'm saying here. Um, so I don't like this executive decision, but I still like everything about what that team is all about,
Here,
as far as
here's the
data
thing.
collection.
Here's the thing. Data collection means nothing in this. This is about fixing Jeremy McGowan's Tonka truck that's filled with computers that he barely knows how to run, according to people that I have talked to. Okay. I'm not saying that to give Jeremy a shot. I did that on Twitter earlier. Okay. But this is a nonprofit organization that is trying to rip money out of the UFO world. Okay. And here's the thing, word of advice on the media. This is how media works. If you want something, if you want people to donate, if you want people to help your cause, you hit the pavement and you go on every show you possibly can. You make time for it, whether it's 15 minutes or 4 hours. You make time for it. Okay? I've got nothing out of this radio show that I started with 15 listeners 8 years ago. Built it all from scratch with barely any budget. And now look, we're cracking radio stations. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Chuck Contreras. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jody Panu. Thank you to my big good friend Len Novin, Ryan O'Neill in Georgia. Okay? These guys believed in what we do because we worked hard for it. And we
Right.
went door to door. Okay?
Right.
I had 150 no's before I got these guys.
Yeah, and I think that we're seeing them grasping at sticks down a rushing river. These are usually signs of a struggle, as things are going down. And I'm being kind simply because I have wanted to support this organization from the beginning. And there have been a lot of people that have worked with them that I really like, and so I can't diss an organization that I liked the concept of. So it is hard to
Yeah,
see it go down
but
like this, and I hate to
Tim,
see them struggling like this. And I do agree with you. This isn't the way, this isn't the way forward as in an organization at
they
all.
are getting
But
they are getting bad advice. Okay,
I agree with you there.
and I like
100%
Gary
agree with you
Voorhees.
there. Yeah.
Okay, there are a lot of people in this field who don't like Gary Voorhees. Okay, I like
Mhm.
Gary. Gary and I have had some great conversations over the years. Gary and I get along great. He comes in here. If I ask him for anything, he'll help me out. That's a
Yeah.
relationship we have. Okay. He's got a fantastic beard. Okay. And you just can't knock a guy like that. Okay. I know there are people, even in our chat room, who have had issues with Gary. Me, I haven't. That's how I judge a person. So I understand with what you're saying. Okay. But if you are hurting for a nickel, you get out there and you make a dime. Okay.
Right.
You go out there and you put yourself out there. So
Right.
whatever PR person that they are dealing with, or this super agent, okay, who knows more than everybody, okay, you notice in the tweets I read during the break, this super agent says he has ran the companies. He's never said that he's been in the trenches to know how it actually works. So therefore, he doesn't know how it works. You don't pay for interviews. You don't sit there and try and hit people up for $600. Look, if you want
Yeah.
to make money, how about, like Tim said, block your content on your website. Some of it, not all of it, some of it on your website, and have it for pay behind a paywall.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a
Where's your
lot of
GoFund?
options. I
Where's
I
your
mean,
GoFundMe?
yeah.
Where's your Buy Me a Coffee? Where's your Patreon account?
Yeah.
Where are they? Okay? Where are they? Instead of hitting up people because you don't want to speak, shame on you. Shame on you. So McGuire here, after I read, that tweet before, I tweeted out to him. I said, whoever came up with this or gave you this media advice has zero clue on how the media works. This will darken your cause overall. That's not a threat. That's how the media works, whether it's us journalists or citizen podcasters looking for your participation. I followed up. I said, you are trying to defend a poorly thought out media blooper that you created. The only people that you are hurting is yourself for this asinine fee for your services. Media is always free. The medium is the message. If you don't want to do a show, you politely decline instead of trying to rip people off. It's an embarrassment. It's an absolute embarrassment what they are doing.
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
And UAPX, and I'm sorry, Gary Voorhees, you're a friend of mine, okay, but it is my job as a journalist, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't call out your group like this. I wouldn't be doing my job as a journalist. And the UFO world has a right to know about this. We can agree to disagree all night long, but Gary Voorhees, I'm sending this message directly to you because you are a friend. Whoever gave you this advice is a knucklehead, is a dimwit, and is someone who you should probably question your association with if you want to take UAPX to the next level, like I hope and wish you do. I want to see him make $1 million, $2 million, $10 million, whatever it may be. I want to see him do that, just like I want to see every other podcaster out there succeed if they're doing it the right way. Everybody has the right to make money off of something they love if they put hard work into it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have millionaires in baseball. We wouldn't have millionaires working on movies. We wouldn't have millionaires as we stand and watch them on stage strum a guitar or play a piano or sing a chord. We wouldn't have it. Okay? We're allowed to do what we want to do for fun, and we're allowed to make money off of it. But when you try to rip people off, that's where the scumbaggery comes in. I just invented a new word there. Scumbaggery.
You know, Dave, I've got a quick question for you. I wonder what we could get for our $600, though, because just to downshift for a moment, let's just think about how much fun we could have with $600. Just saying.
You and I had a lot of fun at the bar in Vegas.
True, but it would also be fun to...
You watched me drop $200 on back massages while we drank. I think you drank scotch and I drank vodka sevens while we played poker on the video slots right there.
Okay. I'm just saying. I'm just wondering what you get with that $600 if it's a couple hours and they can't leave. I don't know. Anyways, I'm just saying. I mean, I understand 100%. There's no way anyone should be charging for interviews. Defeats the absolute purpose. Yeah, please.
But the sad part about this is there are a number of names out there, and I'm not going to say who because I haven't got confirmed yet. But apparently, there are a number of names out there now that are literally trying to charge money for interviews. Now, let me tell you something how this works. Remember how, Tim, I'm going to sound like a guy who's standing on top of his popsicle stand right now. But remember I told you point blank that people can get paid for their engagements. I've been to conferences where I got paid. I had my travel paid for, my food paid for, and a little stipend to say thank you. I've never made more than $500, and I've done conferences for free. Okay. All I expect is help me get there and whatever else you can do. But there are people out there who are charging $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, $10,000. Okay. If not more for their speaking engagements. That's fine. That is what your time is worth. My time, still being a small guy on the totem pole, isn't worth the value of, say, somebody like Richard Dolan or Linda Moulton Howe or someone along those lines. Okay. But you know what? I could call those people up. Like, I called up Grant Cameron the other night and said, Grant, we need to do a year-end show. He goes, great, Dave. Great. When do you want to do it? I said, how about next Thursday? He's like, I'm in. That's how it gets done.
Right.
No money, there's no contract, because we're journalists. We're doing a radio show. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to pay me to fly down and speak in front of a group to give my opinion on UFOs and woo. Damn rights I have a fee. Absolutely.
Do you think that this was in any way in part to discourage doing more podcasts and maybe even the group members from doing more podcasts unless it's been confirmed and paid for, because some of their individual group members may have been doing more podcasts than others, and some of it was solicited and some of it wasn't. So they were
Comes
just
with
trying
the
to,
job.
right. But I mean, were they trying to maybe corral it by putting this together this way?
You're
I'm just,
allowed to say no. Look, I just did a podcast the other day. I don't think they have 300 subscribers. Okay. But they were big fans of mine. They're a Canadian show. And they're like, dude, we really, really want you on. Yeah, I'm in. I'm in. And guess what? In our conversations, dude, I found out that these guys have some amazing stories. I'm going to be booking them to come on this show. Okay, because you guys are in for a treat when you hear this. I'm going to keep that quiet for right now. But
so let me ask a question. So maybe we could
sure,
spin this around somehow and make it a positive. How do you think they could have handled this if they were
good
looking
question.
to, please?
Good question. That's easy to get to. Number one, you never have to say yes to a podcast or radio show. So, for instance, when somebody hits me up, I look to see who they're associated with. I look to see if they are using the term journalist, because in the UFO world, there are a lot of fake journalists out there who've made careers in this field. I don't want to associate with people like that. Okay. If you come to me and you say, hey, I'm a citizen journalist or I'm a podcaster, I love this topic, really want to get into it with you. Yeah, I got time for you. My fee is $0. Okay. But it's karma too, Tim. It's karma. If I say no because I'm too good for that show, or I'm too big for that show, or they don't have the following, what's going to happen when I need somebody? That's a karma thing. But number two, okay, you're allowed to say no if you don't want to. So you can do your research and just say, you know what? We're not doing interviews right now. We're busy doing our stats. We're busy doing this. We're busy doing that. Okay. We're just not doing interviews right now because we've done the tour over the previous engagements and we're just taking a break right now. Great. Not a problem. All you got to say. But for the audacity, okay, like I said earlier, if you are going to a speaking engagement, let's say you're going to somebody sets up a conference in Los Angeles, excuse me, and they want you to be their main speaker of the night, whether it's for a conference of UFOs or, you know, I remember my dad used to host a bunch of conferences. He was a businessman. And sometimes they would have a retired athlete come in, or a retired stockbroker or retired whatever to come in and speak and tell their history. You get an engagement like that, you're paid for that.
Right.
You're paid.
Right.
Media is not paid.
Can I
but
just
you
say
have the right to say no.
they missed an opportunity here where instead of asking for that $600 fee, they could have done the shows for free on the condition that they were allowed to promote and let the audience know that they were needing donations. You know what I mean? And it could have gone even further than just $600.
Or if their
You know?
current agent had any competency whatsoever, why not shop your scientists and your guys around on the speaking circuit?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can go on websites
There you
all
go.
over.
That's an agent. See, that would be an agent if he was booking
Okay.
them speaking gigs. Yes.
Not this moron. Not this moron who wants to play on Twitter. Okay.
Yeah.
No, he wants to milk the UFO field. How about if you're hurting for money that much, put Gary Voorhees or Kevin Knuth or Matthew Sudeikis or Jeremy McGowan or whoever's left on that team, put them on the speaking circuit.
Yeah.
Because you know what? If you're any good as an agent, you'll get them picked up for maybe $5,000 for an hour's speech in front of a business luncheon.
Yeah.
Maybe 10,000. How
Feels
about
like they missed a
100,000?
trick.
Oh, that they are getting bad advice.
Yeah.
They are getting bad advice. And it just seems like every time UAPX takes one of these turns, it goes down the wrong corner. And I don't like that about it.
It's a bummer. It's a bummer. You're absolutely right. But
And
you
look,
and I just brainstormed a couple of great other options than charging the podcasters.
Well, here's the thing though, buddy. I mean, we shouldn't have to do that.
Right.
I'm sticking up for the podcasters out there who are really trying to do something with this.
Yeah.
Okay. The little 1 hour warriors who want to play drama, I have no time for them. Okay. But the other ones out there, look, we were there 8 years ago. We were there.
Thanks for doing all that for us behind the scenes today, Dave, because you rock. Absolutely appreciate it. And without those words of advice, maybe, maybe we can turn them around still. Maybe they'll listen.
Well, you know what? I don't have much hope. Knowing who's there, I don't have much hope. And
fingers crossed on my end. I'm still a fan.
Look, I want them to do well. And I know you're Mr. Positive. You're Mr. Sunshine and Roses. Kiss the babies on the cheek. Okay. I know you're that guy.
A little bit.
Okay. But this is wrong. And wrongs need to be called out. Okay.
Yeah.
Wrongs. You think Luis Elizondo doesn't get paid for when he goes to an engagement somewhere? Or
Right.
Chris Bellin?
Well, but he never charged for podcasts ever. And he never had his questions beforehand.
Brandon Fugel is worth, I'm going to say $500 million, give or take 100 million or more.
Yeah.
Okay. Comes on here for free. Does every other show for free. Right? Not because he's a multi-millionaire. Okay. But because he doesn't have to. Because he knows the game. That's how the media is played. Do it for free. If UAPX is listening to this, which I know they will. Okay. Smarten up. Get back in the game and hire an agent that actually knows what he's talking about, because your current one knows nothing. He just wants to give you a book on how good he is. On that note, Timmy, sorry for dominating the UAP report.
Had to be said.
I know that. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Spreaker, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, #SpacedOutRadio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the wood train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everyone.